Hey, how you doing? This is Tony from Six String Corner doing a pre-recorded live stream. I've noticed that some of my audio's not been doing good for some of my recent live recordings, so I'm going to do a pre-recorded one, see how this works. Just so you know, I am still watching, so if you have a comment or if you have anything that you need to ask me or to make a note of, I am on there to reply back in the comments, so be sure to check it out. I won't be able to acknowledge the video, but I will be able to reply back to you. So, what we're going to do today? Today, my plan is to talk about finding your notes. Oh my gosh, finding my notes. Oh, man. Yeah, well, you'd be surprised. If you know your notes, you'd be surprised how many others don't know them. And knowing where the notes are at on the guitar, I would say, has got a level of importance to it. So there's so many things that come from that, from knowing where your notes are at. You know, when you're learning scales, you're learning certain chords, bar chords, anything that's got movable shapes like bar chords or, like I said, scale, pentatonic, major, minor. It helps to know where your notes are at, because if you have an idea of where your notes are, you're going to be in good shape in learning your scales and all those other things I just talked about and more. And so, plus it's just a good idea to know your notes. You know, when you want to be literate, not illiterate. You want to be literate. And so, anyway, I have, through the years of my teaching, developed a system. It's a 7-step system called the Note Finder. It's really simple in concept, and it takes you from the very beginning, for those of you who absolutely have no idea, to those, you know, and wherever you are in your note learning journey on the guitar, you can kind of jump in at any one of the 7 points. You don't have to start at step 1, but I take it from the very beginning. So I have a attachment down below. I have the Note Finder. It's a free PDF. It's just a free cheat sheet that you can take with you and help you to learn what those notes are on your guitar and where they're at. So we want to get into that a little bit. So I'm going to go through this really quick. Well, I got so much time and almost so much battery on the camera. But we'll go through this a little bit, and I'll walk the steps through you. Words, speak words. I will walk through this step by step with you. This is the thing about live. I have to pretend I'm live because I am live, and you know, mistakes happen. You often wonder, when we make actually polished videos, everything's perfect, right? I don't think so. So anyway, in the link below, I have the Note Finder that you can take with you. I've also got the 16 Corner Tab Library, which I always have available. That's got all kinds of tabs and things in there. I'm going to be doing an overhaul on that pretty soon, but it always is updated, so just hang on to it. It's just a Google Drive right now. It'll be something more fancy soon, I hope, but for now, that's what you get. And all kinds of tabs in there for you, so go ahead and grab that as well. A special commercial break. I have a special for private lessons. So just DM me, or you can go ahead and click the link below and book a free 30-minute lesson. I got 2 spots left as of today, me recording this, all right? So go ahead and check that out. All right, back to the regular scheduled lesson. All right, so let's get to it. Let's talk about the notes. So the 7 steps, well, actually here, and I'm going to edit this video, so you're going to see this. This is the Guitar Note Finder. It's a proven 7-step method to help find those notes on your guitar. And what we're going to get into right now is the note order. That's step 1. So, those of you who don't know how the notes go, I'm going to tell you how they go. Alright? So they go starting at A. You get A, A sharp, B. Not a B sharp. Could be B sharp. We go B to C. That's traditionally what we say. C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, and then back to A and start all over again. That is the order of the notes. That's called the chromatic order. And so you'll notice that after the whole letter, there is a sharp with it looks like a pound sign that's to the right of that. So you got A sharp. Except for two. There's two notes that don't have that, or we don't normally say that. There's arguments on this, but is the B to C. B goes straight to C, and E goes straight to F. So you won't typically see E sharp unless you're looking at something fancy, and you won't see B sharp. You'll see B to C. So those are. So, and I have a little saying for that. There are B no sharps at B and E. There are B no sharps at B and E. So all the notes with that sharp symbol also have to the left of them also have what's called a flat. So you could have an A and an A sharp and a B, right? Well, to the left of that B, you could also call that a B flat. So that A sharp and B flat have two names. There's a fancy name for it called enharmonic. It's the same note. It's just sometimes we call it A sharp, sometimes we call it B flat. When do we do that? Well, that's a whole other story for another day. You just need to know that A sharp and B flat are the exact same notes. And then when you go to B to C, you got C sharp and D. You go to the left of D, and there's D and C sharp. That's also called a D flat. Okay, so that's one way of remembering that. So you'll see that on step one, where I have the note order. So you just take it one way, and then you take it the other way for the flats, sharps and flat. So the thing to know about that on the guitar, how that relates to this, and I'll just use the A string since we started on the A, is just every fret. You just go every fret. So you got A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F sharp, G, G sharp, A. And we go back. So let's start up here. We'll go A flat, which is the same as G sharp, G, G flat, same as F sharp, F, E, E flat, same as D sharp, D, D flat, C, B, B flat, and back to A. Okay? That's the order. And then apply that to any of the strings. You just start at a different place. E, F, right? F sharp, G. So the same thing applies. So use that on each of the strings. So we want to be able to understand that that's the order of the notes. So I know this is maybe some really super basic stuff for some of you, but I know some of you don't know this. So that's why I'm here to help you out with that. Okay, so that's my step one. So step two, I think everybody should know, especially if you have to tune your guitar. Okay, you should actually know what the strings are. Okay, what the notes are. Most of us have these tuners. I got a clip on here for my guitar, and when you look at it, you're going to need to know what string is tuned to what note. And in standard tuning, which is standard, normal tuning. I know there's other tunings in the world, but we got E, A, D, G, B, E. All right, those notes you should know. All right, because when you tune, you can even get a little manual with your tuner, and it should tell you those are the notes. If you have an app, it's going to tell you right off the bat. So know what those strings are. Okay, you'll know that when you're tuning, but know what the notes are on these strings. All right, so I think you're going to need to do that and memorize that. That's only six. Well, 6 strings, 5 notes, because E is on the bottom of the top. It's the same note, it's just an octave difference. So knowing what those notes are across the strings. So we did 2 steps here. We learned the chromatic scale, or the chromatic sequence of notes. Just one note after the other. And on the guitar, it's just one fret after the other. That's called the chromatic. You go both ways. To the right, is the sharp. To the left of that note is the flat. Okay. So that's what you'll want to do, and that is knowing your guitar strings. Okay. Okay. So now, congratulations, you've learned where your first notes are. Okay. Because even in step 1, it's not really about knowing where it is on the guitar, although you certainly can do that. It's just knowing how the notes go. It's kind of a fundamental thing. And then in step 2, we now know the six strings here. So congratulations, you now know 6 of the notes on the guitar. You now know where they're at. Okay, now it gets fun. We go to step 3, okay, and I call this step gab. Let's gab. Let's gab about this whole thing, right? So, what does that mean? So, what I like to do is know where my dots are at. Now, it's going to be different for some guitars. Most guitars, not all, most guitars have a dot on the 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th, and the 12th fret. Okay, you're going to see these little dots. You see them here? Okay, well actually they're minor dots, they're fancy thing, it was a fancy guitar. But you'll see the dots up on the top. I don't know, you probably can't see that, but there's dots up here on the top that you can use for reference. Now some of you may not have that one on the 3rd fret. Some of you may have it on the 1st fret. It just depends on the type of guitar. It doesn't matter, you can still use the dots. Okay, still use that. Just know that the 3rd fret, you're supposed to be a dot. And, you know, depends on how you want to mix up your guitar. You can probably put a little pen dot or put a little sticker to show that that's the third dot, right, 3rd fret for the dots. So you can use that at least while you're learning, and then you can take it off once you got all this stuff figured out. So what we like to do with gab is frets 3, 5, and 7. 3, 5, and 7. Okay, that is G, A, and B. G, A, B. Gab. That's all you got to know. G on the 3rd fret, A on the 5th fret, B on the 7th fret. Okay? That's step 3. Just learn that. Okay? That's it. Just hang on. Okay? If you can just get to learn those 3 notes, you're off to a good start. Okay? So, I have a little saying too, he gabs on the E. Stupid saying. But, gab on the E. E string, which you learn in step 2, and gab. Now, also, you'll note there's an E string here too, right? We learned that, and same applies. G, A, B. E, he gabs on the E string. He gabs on the E string. So gab is on both of them. And so that will let you learn the first 3 notes on the fretboard. Okay? Now, step 4, okay, we're going to play a CD E. CDs, remember those? Is they still out there? I don't even know. But CDs would be on the A. Okay, so A, C, D, E. Alright? So on the A string, we have on the 3rd, 5th, and 7th fret, C, D, and E. C, D, E. So right underneath the gab, you have C, D, E. Which is A, C, D, E. Which is the A string, C, D, E. Frets 3, 5, and 7. Same frets that we did gab. So now you know those 3 notes. Awesome. Okay, so that's a good start, right? So now we're on step 4. I know I'm moving quick, but again, grab the note finder and take your time on this. Some of you may get this right away. Others, it's going to take you some time to learn this. And that's okay. You're all in different places. As long as you follow the steps, you'll know your fretboard. Okay, and I think that it goes easier as you move along. Kind of that momentum thing. So step 5, all we're going to do here is we're going to learn the in-between notes to the notes we just learned. So we have G, A, and B, right? So we're going to learn the notes to the left and to the right of each of those notes. That's it. So we've already memorized these 6 notes on the fretboard. Well, you want to call it 9, but these 6 notes on the fretboard, right? Now, we want to learn the in-between notes. Remember we talked in step 1, sharps and flats. So we go to G, so there's G, A, B. So you go to G, we know to the right of it is a G sharp. To the left of it is a G flat. You can also remember they're enharmonic. So you can go G, A flat, G, F sharp. Same difference. They're the same notes. Okay? So we can do it however we want. If you just want to do sharps, just do sharps. You got G, G sharp, G, F sharp. And you go to A. Do the same thing. A goes to G sharp, A sharp. Alright? If you're comfortable with the B flats, if you're comfortable with the flats, use the flats too. And go to B, same thing. B flat. And to the right of B is a C. Okay? And then we do the same thing on the C, D, E. On C, D, and E, same thing. To the left of C is B. To the right of C, and when I say left or right, is as you're looking down. to the right of C is a C sharp. You're going to do the same thing with D, and the same thing with E. So now you've learned a whole bunch more notes just by that. Just by that. And of course you do the same thing on the high E, which would be the same as the low E, right? E, F sharp, E, I'm sorry, G, F sharp, G, G sharp, and you keep moving along down the line there. So you now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 notes. 7 times 3, you learn 21 notes. Now you have 21 notes. Oh my gosh, we's on a roll, but there's a whole bunch more. Okay, it actually gets a little easier from this point. One extra thing you would do too, remember there's one dot we haven't covered yet. Now that one has sharps and flats, so since we just added sharps, when we get up here to this note, if go back and step 1, always comes back to step 1, we have C, B, C, that's a C sharp on that low E string right there. Alright, there's another sharp you learned. Same thing on the A string, we went from F to F sharp, and from C we went to C sharp. Alright, pretty cool, huh? That's how that works. So we just added those notes. So now we've learned 1, 2, 3, so 24 notes now. We're moving, we're cranking, alright? So now we're starting to learn this dot here. And so we've got the A and the E string, and the E string up here. We still got 3 strings we haven't touched on, but we are going to go to step 6. We're almost at the end here. How can we be almost? Watch. We're going to use what's called the octave method. Now an octave, when we were looking at going to step 1, remember we started on A and we ended on A, right? We went A sharp, B, C, C sharp, went all the way to G sharp, and then started again on A. And we said that that A is an octave higher than the other A. So when we went up our A string here, we have a low A and we have a high A, right? They're the same note. Here one sounds a little bit higher, that's called an octave. So it's an octave higher. Alright? But now there's another way to look at octaves on the guitar. It's actually a technique that's used quite a bit in music. And here's how we do it on the guitar. It's a really easy way of doing this. So let me take the A one here. So when I got on the 5th fret, remember gab? We go to the A on that 5th fret, and in order to, what we're going to do is we're going to discover the notes on the D string using this method. So we're going to go A. So what we do is we go over 2 frets, over to the right 2 frets, and then over 2 strings, which is right here. It should look like this. So we're going over 2 strings. We go to the right 2 frets, and then 2 frets down, and that is an A. Alright, see how we did that? So we just found that note on the D string. We're just starting to learn the D string. Guess what? All those notes that you learned on the E string, right? You now can do the same thing. We went way back here on that F sharp, do 2 frets over, 2 strings down, there's your F sharp. G, 2 frets over, 2 strings down. There's your G note up here on the D. So we're learning now. Now, when you get to this point, we're assuming you've already got the first 2 strings down. The low E and the high E. I'm sorry, the low E and the A string. We kind of got a grasp on those. Then we go to D. And so now what we can do, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, and we just go right down the line here. And then that gives us our playing octaves here. But you see what I'm saying? That's how you would get the D string. You do the same thing for the G string from the A string notes. So let's say we want to go here. This is a D. Do the same thing. 2 frets over, 2 strings down. So we just learned the D. That's a D right here on the G string. And you'll notice too that on the D and the G, the D, the dots just shift over. You just shift over the next set of dots as the same notes. Shift over, same notes, right? So that's how we get that. And we do the same thing with the G. And we go all the way up the strings as far as we can with the octave. Alright? So that's how we get gab. And so now we got gab and a C, D, E, right, on those strings. Alright? So now you're almost all the notes on all 6 of those strings. Okay? So now what you could do is we're just going to start to fill in the gaps. So let's say we go to this G. Alright, so we want to get the dot over here. right? So we go, there's our F. So G, we back down to to F sharp to F. So now we know the dot here is an F, and the dot here will be a B flat. Right? Yeah, B flat, or an A sharp. Look at that for a second. All right? All right, so that will get you essentially from fret 2 up to, gosh, where would we be here? We'd be up to fret 11. I know I'm going quick. Again, go through the PDF and take your time. This may take you days, could take you weeks, could take you a few hours. I don't know. But follow this system. All right, I'm just going kind of quickly here so you can just kind of see how I'm doing it. And then what we start doing is we start filling in all the other gaps here. And we haven't got to the B yet. The B is the weird one. That's step 7. And you just start filling in the gaps now. We're just going to have to randomly figure them out. But if you have that chromatic list, step 1, you should know that before F sharp is F, which is that first note on the E. We know this B here. We know this is a B flat or an A sharp here on the first fret. So you start filling in all those gaps based. Had to reset the camera. Sorry. All right, so that will eventually get you all the strings except for the good old B string. B string is a little odd in how it works, but we can still use the octave method from the D string. So you go up that D string. Let's just pick a random note 1 here. Let's say we've learned that based on our octaves, we know that the 5th fret here on the D is the G string. No. That's not a G string, it's a G note. What did I say? Ugh. Alright, so that's a G note. But in order to get the octave on the B, okay, we still go 2 strings over, but we go 3 frets to the right instead of 2. So we go 1, 2, 3. This only applies to the B. And then we go 2 strings over. So it looks like this. There's actually a 2 fret spread. Alright? So that's your G right here. Okay? Now at this point, when you get to this step, it's assumed that you've done all the others and you have a grasp on the notes, where they're at, what order they go in. And then that's what you would use for that note. And then you start using that octave method based on the notes you've learned from the D string to learn that B string. And then you go all the way up and down the line. What's an easy way of remembering that? Sometimes it's just a relationship to where the dots are at. Because we started with the dots, we still work with the dots, and then you can figure out those notes here on the B string based on the dot location. I know I went quick, and I do apologize if it was too fast for you. You can actually slow the video down, or you can replay it. But also, more importantly, is you want to grab that note finder and open that up and find where you are in your journey, learning your notes, and start from there. Okay, and then take your time. Don't rush through it. Say, some of you may get it done in a few hours, in an hour. Some of you may take a while. That's okay. It doesn't matter where you are. It's irrelevant where you are. The bottom line is you will get there, and you will know where your notes are at. So once you know your notes, when you start learning scales, if you start learning like a G major scale, like that pattern repeats. So if you know where your notes are at, you can play a G, because this is a G. And I can do the exact same pattern here for A. Right? I just learned the A major scale. And it makes it so much easier because the scales, they're repeating patterns and chords, bar chords. There's your G, there's an A, since I know where my root note is at. How about that? So there's a lot of benefits to knowing your notes. If you don't know your notes, go ahead and learn. So go ahead and download that. The tab library is there too if there's any songs you want to learn. And I hope you enjoyed this pre-recorded session.